Welcome to the Grassroots Army podcast. This platform is for common sense people looking for up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information without the hot garbage corporate media bias. The power of one can lead to the power of many. You never know what small act that you may say or do that may literally change the lives of millions tomorrow. And don't you ever think that you can't make a difference, because you can. Good morning, my fellow Michiganders. Good morning, my fellow Americans. Welcome to the Grassroots Army podcast. I am, of course, your host, Garrett Soldano, and do I have an interesting conversation with all of you here today regarding a young lady called the Real Housewife of Michigan and our conversation over on X. Again, if you are not on X, you have to go over there. This is not an echo chamber. It's pretty much a free-for-all, and there is a lot of great conversation. So I like to go over there, and as you guys are well aware of, I like to stir the pot sometimes. And how you handle these people is you just ask questions. And then what's going to happen is you're going to understand one of two things. Number one, you're never going to change their opinion. They are going to be really set in their beliefs and values, which is fine because we are too. But you can't deny that a lot of these folks are just brainwashed. They truly are. And they think the same thing about us, the mega cult, as they call us, right? They're just brainwashed. But when you start to have conversations, you start to talk reality, it just doesn't even sink in with these people. And you just scratch your head. And I know a lot of you have had similar conversations and you're just like, what's wrong with these people, right? Like there's no sense of logic and common sense. And when you ask these questions, they just spew out their response and you just sit back and scratch your head. And you're going to have to come to the conclusion that there's no way that you're going to change 40% of our society's minds. I mean, we learned that through the pandemic with the insanity, with the unconstitutional lockdowns, with the mandates and everything else. No matter how much data and research, they always had something else to continue to further their lie and even coming up with their own research at the time. And we just would scratch our head and say, why aren't these people waking up? It's like we all live in the Matrix. Okay. So I want to kind of paint that narrative for all of you here in a few minutes, because I want to talk about our cities right now. And not only that, but with the mass, invasion of our southern border with millions upon millions of illegal immigrants that have come into our country illegally and have not been vetted. And we know for a fact now that some of these folks are evil, bad people that are going to do bad things, that are currently doing bad things in our country. And the Dems don't want to talk about. All they want to do is continue to get on their soapboxes and scream as loud as they can, because they're very good at screaming, is that their abortion rights are getting taken away. President Trump is going to take away all of their abortion rights. And that has already been disproven, because President Trump has come out and said publicly many, many times, no matter how much the corporate media does not want to play the clip, is that he's leaving it up to the states. And that's where it should be. That's where it should be. So if the majority of your state wants abortion, then do a citizen's petition. Put pressure on your legislature to change your laws if there are laws preventing abortion, and let the people speak. And that's what happened in the state of Michigan. So Real Housewife of Michigan continues to scream that, hey, our reproductive rights, are getting stripped away and threatened. And they're doing this because they're pushing out a narrative. It worked so well for them. And it really did. In the last election cycle, it really worked well for them. It did. And they're trying to bring it back. Why? Because they know they need to take your attention and the middle's attention off of the dumpster fire of our country. Crime is out of control. And I'm going to show a clip here that's really, viewer discretion is advised. It's absolutely brutal what happened to this young lady. And I would just like to ask a question of, what if she would have been armed? It probably would have been differently. And so we're going to break that down here in a second. But not only with crime, the economy, grocery prices, we're all feeling it. And if you're denying to yourself that you're not feeling it at the gas station, at the grocery store, you're lying, because we all are feeling this. I mean, people are going out there getting 2 to 3 jobs. And that's why I think it's kind of quite comical is, number one, when you take away all the jobs during the lockdowns, and then people come back to work, it's new jobs. Or people are starting to pick up the second or third job to pay for the bare essentials. the groceries, utilities, and everything else. And so that's why jobs continue to go up. So bottom line, we're all hurting right now. So let's get into this horrible video of a 58-year-old woman who was on her way to volunteer, and this happened to her, I think, in New York. So here we go. Walking along the street and gets sucker punched in the head. And that gentleman has a bat, which continues to beat her legs with the bat, which I could not imagine what that would feel like. Probably pretty horrible. Okay? Pretty horrible. And we see these videos all across the country. We are living in Gotham City, and we do not have a Batman. So the very party that was screaming, defund the police, right, has now created Gotham City throughout our country in these Democrat-run cities, and we have no Batman. And it's also quite interesting, I don't want to say comical, but I say that sarcastically, is that the same party that, strongly advocates for gun control, they simultaneously enable criminals just to wreak havoc, creating, a paradox between our law-abiding citizens who are disarmed in most of these cities, and these criminals are breaking the law unchecked, and they're getting away with it because they're all masked up, right? So in that video that I just showed, I'm not going to show it again because it's violent, but imagine if that 58-year-old woman who was on her way to volunteer, I think I read, was armed and to protect herself, right? So let's take it further. Even if she chose not to carry, and in that city people were legal to carry, the mere possibility that she might be legally armed probably would deter criminals, forcing them probably to think twice before attacking. Wouldn't you say? That's why all these so-called school shootings happen in gun-free zones. That's why I'm an advocate for arming the teachers who want to be armed to fight back, because I guarantee the cowards who do this, because what happens, they go in there and they shoot up a bunch of people and kids, which is horrible because they're mentally disturbed and evil. But what do they end up doing? Before the gunfight with the police and the SWAT team, they usually kill themselves. They take the coward's way out. So I bet if we armed folks in the schools and these criminals knew that they were going to be shot back at, I bet that would deter a lot of these school shootings. So bottom line, by stripping the American citizens of the right to self-defense, we allow criminals to go around and create havoc. And we allow the people who do not carry to be vulnerable. So it's insane on how the Democrats think, right? Gun control, but we allow people to go around and beat the hell out of old ladies with baseball bats, and that's okay. So let's move on to what went down yesterday on X. And Real Housewives of Michigan and we've been going back and forth. And I invited her on the show, which I'm going to reveal here today. But what prompted this conversation is that a video that actually I think Kevin Rinke posted yesterday on X with Pastor Amanchukwu. And I've highlighted Pastor Amanchukwu over the past year. The guy's been doing phenomenal. Big, tall, former Division I player, Black American, is just going around and just speaking his mind at these school board meetings. And it's really, really great to see. And so he was just recently at a school board meeting, and Kevin posted this video. So I want to show the video. Again, it's graphic because he's reading the book that's in the school library. And he gets cut off because the school board doesn't want to hear the words that are coming out of his mouth that they're allowing children to check out and read in these school libraries. Again, insanity. And we're going to break that down. So here it is.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, sir.
Glad to be here, my friend. I want to read from the book American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. On page 173, this book references vulgarity, that which you spoke about earlier that will be condemned in the school board meeting. But at the end of the day, you all permit vulgarity to be at the fingertips of children. And for you to have a policy that says that in this meeting you're against vulgarity, then that means this board is a hypocrite if you endorse books like this to be in the school system. Number one, it says Christy is on all fours facing the headboard, her ASS raised high in the air, and I'm straddling her back as if I was riding a dog or something, but backward, my knees resting on the mattress, my dick half hard, and I'm facing Sabrina, who is
Sir,
staring
that's
into
one warning,
Christie's
sir.
spread open ASS with a determined expression. Her smile seems tortured, and she's wetting her own lips by fingering herself and tracing her glistening index finger across them, like she's applying lip gloss. With both my hands, I keep Christie's ASS and cunt spread open, and I urge Sabrina to move in closer and sniff them, to sniff her rectum.
Okay. All right, we're gonna adjourn, folks.
I motion for Sabrina to move her face in closer.
Sir, you.
So they cut him off and they leave the room because they're embarrassed about what he's reading. So that was posted. I posted it. Kevin Rinke posted it. And Kevin had a really good comment. He said, and I wondered this too, because I commented underneath this video, hey, I would like to know the answer to this too, because the Real Housewife of Michigan, she's very passionate over on X. And so she, was called out by me. And Kevin Rinke said, hey, can any Democrat explain why it's acceptable, to have these explicit sexual graphic books in the school library? And then he tagged Real Housewife Michigan, and she asked this question: as a mom, would you want your children to read these types of books in middle school or high school? Which I really feel is a valid question. Okay. So here's where it gets interesting. Because when I saw her response, I was like, holy cow, she actually sounds like she is a moderate Republican. Because she said, of course not. Who would? If it was available, I would use the channel set in place by the district and ask for it to be removed. As a parent, I have the responsibility of being involved in my children's lives and education, and I am. I also have the responsibility to teach them right from wrong and realize in the day and age, I can't shelter them from everything. I've had many tough conversations with my teenagers. If this shocks you, just wait until you see what they are being exposed to on social media. Just like this post, there are teenagers on this app. Do you think sharing this appropriate since teenagers will see it? How is that any better? Okay. So actually a very good response. I was like, hey, yeah, that's what we want. And that's what we have to do as parents. And that's why as parents, we have to monitor our kids' social media. Parenting today is a whole hell of a lot different than we grew up. And we all know that. So you have to be involved. You have to make sure they're not getting exposed to stuff on social media. So I just the only thing that's kind of a little weak in her statement is like, hey, well, it's happening on social media and they have access to the internet. So yeah, it's okay that we put all this junk and garbage in the public school libraries. That's a weak argument because kids shouldn't have access, especially a public school system, which our tax-paying dollars fund, right? They shouldn't have access to pornographic material, sexually explicit books, and everything else. And that's why we've been standing up, and parents have been standing up all throughout the country. You can't just say, well, they have phones and they get the apps. No, as a parent right here, and I'm speaking to all parents out there, we're monitoring the phone, we're monitoring social media. But when our kids go to school and we can't have a say with what they're saying or what they're reading in the public school libraries, that's a problem. And that's where the fight has been. So when she said that, I was like, wow. All right. So I analyzed the situation. Let's go through it because I said, interesting. Because remember, she said she would not allow this. Who would? And I replied, well, your party. I also have a question. All right. Personal question for her because she has Catholic in her profile. And I wanted to know if she's a practicing Catholic because she is very, very passionate about reproductive rights. Okay. And she says, no, my party wouldn't. Stop with the untrue narrative. Then I step back and I'm like, whoa, what? So she thinks her party is not responsible for the pornographic books being in the school libraries, right? And she went on to say, now, would I care if my children read a book where the main character had two dads? Of course not. Yes, I'm a practicing Catholic. And I agree with her. And that's what the left wants us to believe, or wants everybody to think, is that we're a bunch of homophobic, transphobic people. And I said time and time again, I don't care. I have loved ones and family members that are gay. That's their decision. This is America. You can be whatever you want. I don't care. What I disagree with is force feeding a cultural ideology down my kids' throats, right? It's up to the parent to have these conversations. And I think schools should just keep with the basics, math, reading, history, science, right? And leave the cultural ideology and the political narrative out of schools, but they refuse. So I asked, are you a Democrat? Because when she said my party wouldn't, I actually assumed right away, well, that means she's maybe a libertarian. Maybe she's even a moderate Republican, because to her last statement to now, she kind of sounds that way. So I'm like, holy cow, have I been attacking this poor woman who she was a libertarian or Republican? So I started to go back and I start seeing that she is very passionate about her party, Democratic Party. So then I'm like, well, are you a Democrat? And she says, yes, which I'm like, okay, what are we dealing with here? I said, okay, well, if you're a practicing Catholic who believes in abortion, that to me, if you're a practicing Catholic, you can't believe in abortion. You can't. I don't care how many Catholics say they're practicing and they believe in abortion. Sorry, no. Catholicism is against abortion. They believe in the moment of conception. That's just the rules of the church. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I do not believe in abortion. Made that stance very clear. I was attacked on The View for that stance. I was attacked by Charlemagne the God and was Donkey of the Week for that statement. But I'm a practicing Catholic, so I follow the rules of the church, and that's what my belief is. I said, we'll just let that one hold on for a while, obviously, or one sit for a while. Moving on, I said, you are a Democrat who believes that your own party is not responsible for allowing sexual explicit books like the one you just watched in a video above with Amanchukwu in the school libraries. And she got upset. And she went on to say, no, we will not let that sit for a while. The mama bear came out of her. Good for her. I get that your party believes that can tell women what to do, but that's not how things work here in Michigan. I have my own religious beliefs, but I don't believe I should impose those onto others. I agree with that statement. I am pro-choice, which as a practicing Catholic, you can't. It's an oxymoron. I believe women should be allowed to make their own choices, regardless of what choice that I would make for myself. Okay. So that's interesting because she's pro-choice, but she's also pro-life in that statement. Because I think she's stating that if she got pregnant with a pregnancy she did not want, either with her husband or unfortunately if something evil happened to her, and she was impregnated, then she would have the baby, which is courageous. I said that. But again, being a practicing Catholic, I do not impose my belief. That's why I'm very rarely talk about my beliefs and religion on here. A lot of people do, but I just choose not because I don't want to impose my beliefs. But I still do not believe that, destroying a life is okay, regardless of the situation. That's just my belief, right or wrong. In state of Michigan, they have abortions up till 9 months, which I disagree with. And I said, hey, let's come back to middle, at least do heartbeat bill, something, so we're not killing babies that late. And I believe if it affects the life of the mother, obviously you're always going to choose life. And she says, and goes on, I hope I was able to dumb down that enough for you to grasp. But if you need further clarification, I can go further. And this is when it gets interesting. The brainwashing. She obviously just sucks the Kool-Aid out of CNN every day. No, Democrats are not responsible for sexually explicit books in schools. Stop with the ridiculous talking points that you think scare cheap political points. That you think scare you cheap political points. That kind of misreads wrong. Again, I point to not only your failed political career, but also your girl, Tuddy. I think she meant Tootie. That untrue narrative didn't get her elected either. Okay. So that's what they do. They get nasty. And they think that saying that I finished third in the primary really, really matters. And they always put up the statistic of Tuner winning the primary, Kevin coming in second, me coming in third, and then there's Ryan Kelly and Ralph underneath me. They think when they put that out that they dig, like, got him, you lost. Well, these are the same people who refuse to play the game, right? So the people that sit in the bleachers that can't coach, they can't play, they're not athletic enough, they're not going to do the work, but then they're going to criticize the people who get on there and play. And when you lose, that's a part of life. They're the first ones to just attack you. Hey, you're a loser, blah, 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 you lost. Okay. But at least I threw my hat in the arena. Okay. But they always seem to go hissy fit, childish games and throw that I lost in the primary. Oh, well. Okay. So moving on. So then I replied, I wanted Amanchukwu, the guy who has been speaking on this, because I was just shocked that she said that Democrats aren't responsible. So I wanted his perspective on this, especially with her believing her own party is not responsible for what's happened in the public schools. And she was offended that I tagged Amanchukwu. He says, what? You can't come up with an argument against what I'm saying on your own? Why am I not shocked? Let me know when you're ready to continue. I won't tag anyone to come save me. I'm off to watch a kid play baseball. I'll make sure to check back later. Cupcake. All right. And I said, hey, I'm just shocked that you think your own party is not responsible for what's going on in the public schools. And then what I do, because I'm transparent, I would love for you to come on my live show and have a friendly debate, because I told her, look, I have an idea. You obviously are very passionate on your beliefs, and I can respect that. So I would like you to come on my live show and have a friendly debate. And I was going to do that this morning for all of you. And what happens all the time is they say no. You can't even have a friendly debate with me here without asking for help. Why would I go on your live show? You need people to actually listen to it. And she has like a small liberal following, I think of 68,000. That's what's funny, because I just got back on X. And so my following's not where it is on all the other platforms, the hundreds of thousands of people that follow me on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. But then I just said, it's figured as much. Keep hiding behind that keyboard, Cupcake. So again, I wanted to point that out. And I have something else that I could hit her with today, but I don't want to. I don't have the time. I'm moving on from this conversation unless she starts attacking me again on X, and then I'll reveal what she did about the economy, because Kevin also made a response of saying, you know, that's all these Democrats are doing is just throwing hissy fits about reproductive rights, not focusing on the kitchen table issues, the invasion of the southern border, all these illegal immigrants making all this crime happen, right? Crime from evil people that's not getting taken care of. Also with the economy, with the grocery prices, everything else. And he says abortion is not the main issue this election cycle, which I agree 100% with. You know, when you start affecting people's ability to provide for their families, abortion falls to the wayside. That's just truth. And I say that time and time again. When there's bread lines, you're going to see a lot more of the middle start to get frustrated. And that's what's happening in our country right now. And she went on to say, like, reproductive rights is at the forefront. Everything's going great in this economy. And then she made a post that I found about she's struggling. She was mad that her power went out. She started blaming the utility company. Her energy prices are going up. She can't afford groceries. She's afraid that her groceries are going to spoil in the fridge. And she was all frustrated. And I was like, that's interesting. You just said that everything's fine and dandy, but you're throwing a hissy fit about everything that's going on in your life with the economy and grocery prices and everything else. So that's what Democrats do, which brings me to my next point. They lie, and they'll run with the lie. And then the corporate media runs with the lie. And then by the time it gets proven, it's too late. It's been happening all throughout the pandemic. It's happened through the Hunter Biden laptop. It happened with Russia, and Trump in his election in 2016 and what they continue to run with in his first presidency. They just continue to lie, and they don't care. And they don't even care that they get called out on it. And I've called Governor Whitmer out a lot of times for her lies and what she said, and then she comes back and says something differently. And I'm going to show a short clip right now of one example, and that's why I will continue to highlight Governor Whitmer, because I know she has her eyes on the White House, if not this election cycle, the next election cycle in 2028. And I want to continue to remind people that she is a career politician that just continues to lie, and I caught her in all kinds of lies. So I'm going to continue to expose her. So watch this video. April 15th, here we go, of last year.
The fact that we're cracking down on people traveling between homes or planting or landscaping or golfing really for a couple more weeks isn't going to meaningfully impact people's ability.
But she didn't do any stay-at-home orders, because this is what she said yesterday.
There have never been travel restrictions in Michigan. There just haven't been.
Unbelievable. They lie, and they continue to lie, and the mainstream media runs with the lie. It's hot garbage right now, folks. So we must continue to speak the truth, and we must come together and continue to fight back in a nonviolent, positive way against this woman and make sure that she gets voted. So again, she speaks the lie, and then they run with the lie, and there's no accountability. The only accountability is people like us that will get on and actually show the footage. And I've had hundreds of videos from the campaign that we've archived that I'm looking through to point out to people again, because it's important to continue to remind people, because when I read hot garbage of what Real Housewife of Michigan says, like, my party's not doing that. My party's not for sexually explicit books and pornographic books in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. You're spreading untruths, right? You evil person, you. I'm like scratching my head like, are you serious? No, your party has made a stance on this, and all the Democrat school board members continue to stand for it, right? And I'm sure there's a few corrupt Republicans out there on some school board because of the laws in that state that are not standing up because they're afraid to get sued. I'm sure there's examples of that, but the majority is, I guarantee it, prove me wrong. I'm asking you, prove me wrong. The majority in these school systems, these public school systems, are Democrats pushing this cultural ideology down our kids' throats, putting these books in. And they always hang the word, if you don't do this, these kids are going to commit suicide, right? So I will continue to expose it. Okay, so I'm going to end on this, another powerful video that our campaign did, and let you guys all sink, or let you guys all, really allow this energy to sink in with what's going on, especially with the debate tonight. And look, the debate, it's set up for President Trump to lose. It really is. And I'm hoping he rises above it and puts on a good showing for all of us. Keep with the talking points, but he's up against a lot. I mean, they really have the rules against him. It's almost like President Trump's a prosecutor and he is trying to convict somebody, and everybody that's on the jury is a family member of the defense, right? So that's what he's dealing with tonight. So we're all anxious to see how he does. We'll all be watching, and then we'll be breaking that down. So anchor this energy of this video in right now. All of us are sick and tired of talking about that, and that's what they want. They want us to get numb to it, and they want us to quit talking about it. So we'll just blindly follow with whatever the government wants us to do. And I'm just not that guy. This is a different election cycle now. You're not going to just go up there and talk about policy. We need somebody that's going to hold her accountable for everything that she's done.
Michiganders. I will not stop fighting for more tests, more vaccines, more ways to keep you safe. So I'm calling on Michiganders to continue their personal efforts to slow the spread by masking up, social distancing, and washing your hands. And of course, get vaccinated.
We have the freedom to choose. This is our state.
I'm supporting Garrett. I've been with him since April of last year, and I just think he's the best candidate for what we want, freedom.
We're for Garrett because he stands for medical freedom.
I'm supporting Garrett Saldano because I believe he's the right person at the right time. He speaks the truth. He's not afraid to speak the truth, and he's not afraid to go against the establishment.
I support Garrett for governor.
I support Garrett for governor.
I've decided to support Garrett.
I'm supporting Garrett.
I'm supporting Garrett.
I support Garrett.
You do not need to be a career politician to run for any level of office. You just need to love this country, love this flag, always follow through, be transparent, tell the truth. That's all we want from here on out. We are going to get it done, because when you got skin in the game, that means it means something to you. And if you believe in this country, and you believe in this flag, and you believe in the future generations of this country, you can be a part of this movement. And you can help us take our state back and get rid of this insanity that's going on right now and stand up. Just wanted to show that today. Number one, I'm not running for governor. All right. That was just an old campaign video that our team produced, which they did a fantastic job at AZ Business Solutions. But I just wanted you to remember what you're a part of. And the reason I show those clips is to remind you on what you have been going through over the past 4 years and what we can do together as a movement. I've always said this time and time again, it's always darkest right before sunrise. And I keep saying this, it's dark right now. It is. But God put us all in this moment for a reason. So you can't give up. You can't give in. You have to continue to stand up, because what we're facing right now is evil. And that's why it's all hands on deck for November, because look, I firmly believe this now. If we don't win, this country is not going to resemble this little idea called America anymore. It's really not. This administration has burned this country into the ground. And I fear on what will happen if this administration gets back in. And we all see what they were willing to do to get back power. We all seen it during the pandemic. So just when President Trump wins in November, because I'm hoping and I believe that he does, unless something happens, they're not going to quit. They're going to continue to attack. They're going to continue to nonstop just fight back. That's the 40, unfortunately, the 40% of this country right now believes in this just progressive movement that's happening. And they're willing to take away your freedoms. They're willing to take away your children, your grandchildren's freedoms for this agenda that they're pushing. It's been proven. So you have to get involved. You have to continue to stand up. You have to unite the party. Again, I still see Republicans fighting amongst each other. And I really believe that there's a lot of bad actors. And I feel that there's Democrat plants within our own party that are going in these battleground states that are getting involved into the Republican parties of that state and creating chaos. It's happening in Arizona. It's happened in Michigan, I believe. We have a lot of bad people within our own party that are there to do just that. Because how do you take down a party of the Constitution, a party of beliefs and values, a party of being fiscally conservative and doing what's right and putting America first? Well, you get in there and you create division because they understand and know that divided, they will fall. United, they stand. And so that is a great tactic for the other side to infiltrate a party and do just that. And I believe it's happening all throughout America. So people who constantly push division, there's a difference between pushing division and holding folks accountable. There's a big difference. You can hold your elected officials accountable by asking questions and demanding answers. And if those folks don't have good answers for you, then you vote them out with someone who will. And that's why, again, I will always stress, I don't care about your past. People still say to me, well, I can't run because I have a past. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you've done. As long as you come out and be transparent about it, just like I did with my past, people will just like, they don't care. Now the left will attack you for it. They're going to run the commercials and everything else. But as long as you're true to who you are and you come out and say, hey, I'm going to stand up for you. I'm going to stand up for that piece of paper called the Constitution. I'm going to fight for your family and for the future of this country. I'll vote for that person every day of the week. I don't care about their past as long as they learn from it. As long as they learn from it. Okay. So your mistakes in your past does not define you. It's what you do with them. And sometimes you'll make a couple mistakes in your life or several mistakes. As long as you're getting better. As long as you're getting better, because those who are free of sin, sin,